Yes, peace, shalom. First and foremost, giving honor and praise unto Yah, the creator of heaven and earth. This presentation is based about the tribe of the Danites. Some people was teaching that the tribe of Dan is destroyed. That is emphatically incorrect. So let's go over the scriptures to show and prove scripturally. Let's go and start in the book of Genesis chapter 30, verse 1. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife. And Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived, and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. Now Dan in Hebrew means judge. All right, so let that be understood. Let's go from there to Genesis chapter 35. We're going to go in verse 10. So that way we can let it be known and understood what exactly we're talking about. And Elohim said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Yisrael. Now, also want to speak about the meaning of the word Yisrael. It's two words put into one, Yisra and then El. El from the Hebrew root word ayil, which means to be mighty or power. That's why some people say you shouldn't say God. You should just say the power, like the Most High thy power, as opposed to saying the Lord thy God. That's a part of the reason why some people state that. And the first part of it is Yisra, which means he will contend or he will rule. From the Hebrew word Sarah, which means to rule or to contend. That's why the Hebrew word Sarah means princess, and also the Hebrew word Sar means prince. All right, so let that be understood. Let's go, if we will, into the book of Deuteronomy 34, if we will. We are in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 34. We are in verse 1. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho, and Yah showed him all the land of Galaad unto Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Yahudah unto the utmost sea. So what this is talking about, this just goes to show you that the prophet Moshe, before he passed, saw the land that he was unfortunately not even allowed to go in with himself, but he did see what the children of Israel did inherit. All right, and note, brothers and sisters, that it mentions Dan. Now, if we go from there to First Chronicles chapter 21, we are in First Chronicles 21, verse 1. So that way we can gain some understanding from the scriptures itself. And Satan stood up against Israel and provoked Dawid to number Israel. And Dawid said unto Joab and to the rulers of the people, Go, number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring me the number of them to me, that I may know it. So what's being spoken about right here, I want to talk about two different things. Because sometimes when you go into the book of Samuel, it says that the Most High moved him to do it. And then in Chronicles here, it says that Satan stood up against Israel and provoked Dawid to do it. Satan simply means adversary. You understand? So you have to know and understand, brothers and sisters, the laws, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High. So it's somebody sitting there and telling you, yeah, go ahead and do a crime or go ahead and do something that's incorrect behavior. That is scripturally Satan provoking you or moving you to go and do something. So let that be understood. All right. Satan is a ruach. It's a spirit. It's not an actual physical being. Satan in the Hebrew understanding is a spiritual issue. All right. So let that be understood. Now, and it says in verse 2, and David said unto Joab and to the rulers of the people, go number Yisrael from Beersheba even to Dan. Now, the point in me going over that part is just simply to show, brothers and sisters, that the focal point of the land of Israel from one point even to the other is listed as saying from Dan to Beersheba. Dan being in the north, and then you got Beersheba being where Judah and Simeon was in the south. In the next part, in part 2 of this, we'll go over the maps and then read this again so it'll be understood. Now, I wanted to just use the scriptural references right about now. If we go, brothers and sisters, into the book of Jeremiah 1:1. All right, so the point going over Deuteronomy is in, we're speaking in that case in the 15th century BCE. Then in the time of Dawid, we read about, or Dawid or David, we read about the issue of Dan, and Dan being Dan, and that being in the 11th century BCE. Now let's go to Jeremiah, which is in this case the 7th century BCE. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 1. The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests that were in Anatot in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of the Most High came in the days of Yoshia, Ben Ammon, Melech Yehuda, Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. It came also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Yoshia, king of Judah, unto the end of the 11th year of Zidkiyahu, the son of Yoshia, king of Yehuda, unto the carrying away of Jerusalem captive in the 5th month. So what this is talking about right here is it's talking about the time of the prophet Jeremiah. He began to prophesy during the time of Josiah. All right? Josiah being one of the kings of Judah. Now, if you know about the list of the kings of Judah, you had Josiah, Jehoiakaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah. So we're speaking about the later end of the southern kingdom. Very interesting is because by this time, the Assyrians had taken what we call the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom into captivity, Dan being part of that. So Jeremiah began to prophesy after the Assyrian invasions that happened in the land of Israel. That's very important to note in this part here. And here's why. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 15. And it says this. We are in the book of Jeremiah 4:15, and it says, for a voice declare from Dan, and publish affliction from Mount Ephraim. Make ye mention to the nations, behold, publish against Jerusalem, that watchers come from a far country, and give out their voice against the cities of Judah. So what this is talking about right here, Jeremiah is still speaking about Israelites in their lands that were in the northern kingdom of Israel. But let it be understood that because there was no king there, after the era of Ahaz, you had the tribes that were taken into Assyria. You understand? So Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, basically was the ruler of the tribe of Judah, Simeon and Benjamin, and the rest of the Israelites that were still in the northern kingdom. And there were still Israelites still in the northern kingdom. You can go in your own time to the book of 2 Chronicles 30 to confirm that. All right, now, getting back to this portion here concerning the tribe of the Danites, it distinctly speaks about how a voice is heard from Dan. And this is talking about during and after the time of Josiah, who was ruling in Judah. Now, when you go in your own time to the, because we're going to let the scriptures speak, all right? When you go in your own time into the book of 2 Kings 23, you read about Josiah going into where Ephraim was and where Manasseh was and so forth and so on. So the kingdom of the northern tribes fell, but there were still Israelites that were still in those lands. So let that be understood. All right. It wasn't just a clean sweep out, that is, of each and every single person of the northern kingdom. What it was the breakdown of the kingdom itself. But the people were still there in the land during the time when Judah was still ruling in the southern kingdom. All right. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out also, same book, Jeremiah, let's go to chapter 3, verse 1. And it says, they say, if a man put away his wife and she go from him and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return unto me. Yet return again to me, saith the Most High. Lift up thine eyes upon the high places, and see what thou hast not lain with, and the ways thou hast sat for them as the Arabian in the wilderness. And thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy wickedness. Therefore, the showers have been withholden, and there have been no latter rain. And thou hast a whore's forehead, thou refusest to be ashamed. So one of the things to point out, brothers and sisters, is that this right here is talking about the ways of the children of Israel and what happened with them as a people. Understand? Now, one of the things to also point out is that when you read it in the scriptures, it distinctly tells us, brothers and sisters, that Israel fell due to them committing the wickedness. All right? I wanted to read that for a reason, because it's going to show why in part 2 of the presentation. Jeremiah 4:1 now. It says, If thou return, O Yisrael, saith the Most High, return unto me, and if thou wilt put away thine abominations out of my sight, then shalt thou not remove. And thou shalt swear, Yah liveth in truth, in judgment, and in righteousness. And the nations shall bless themselves in him, and in him shall they glory. Now, the point of me reading Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 1, it distinctly says, If thou will return, O Israel, saith the Most High. Now, when you go in your own time, it distinctly tells you that Jeremiah was told, turn to the north and speak to the old backsliding Israel. So that just goes to show where Israel was located in the northern kingdom, or where those northern tribes were, Jeremiah was also sent to speak to them as well. That's very, very important. And that, as stated, showing the timeline, was after the time when Assyria took those tribes into captivity. So it just goes to show you who was who and who was still in the land. Shalom on part 1.